So do you remember that time when, and it was like about like 10 years ago when you were still dating your ex, we had gone to the mall and you had left me alone for exactly like 20 minutes, I think.
Yes.
And in that 20 minutes, I bought a beauty product that was worth $75.
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember that? Okay.
Yes.
So I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm like, I'm convinced the girl that sold that to me genuinely wanted to bang me just because
Oh, God.
when we looked up that stuff, it was like a magnetic face mask thing. She sold me for $75. When I looked it up to buy more, it was $650.
Oh, my God.
$650. And she said she sold it to me for $75. And I'm like, she wanted to fuck me. I'm like,
either that or she had to. She had to sell it to you for,
she gave me a 90% discount. 90. There is no way she did not want to hit it.
I mean, you're probably right, to be honest.
I was alone. I was vulnerable. I was also like 19. How old were we?
No, we were in our 20s.
Oh, you're right. I was young. I was vulnerable. Like, I thinking about it the other day, and I'm like, I think she wanted to have sex with me. Not to put myself on a pedestal, but like, would you agree?
Probably. I mean, why would anyone sell you anything for 90% off if they're not thinking about hitting it, you know?
90%. I did the math just to see like how much of a discount that was. I was like, first of all, why is that $650 at regular price? That is too much for any product ever.
To be fair, it lasted almost 2 years and it was the best thing we ever put on our skin.
I want, at some point, unless it's from Deep Sea Cosmetics, unless they do a sale where everything is 90% off, I'll probably never get it again.
Yeah, probably.
But I was thinking about that the other day and I was like, I think she wanted to fuck me.
Welcome back to the Gemini Archives, everyone.
Welcome back, everyone. You know, I gotta stop cursing so much. I'm sorry. I said fuck like 10 times in the first minute of the episode. I'm so sorry. Like,
it's fine.
And it's not ladylike. It's not a good look. I'm drinking
Nothing
coffee
about
today.
Me. Oh, I know. Nothing about me is ladylike, though. At all.
I wouldn't say that.
Almost nothing.
I know, just like Lauren coming over to my house the last time she was here and just sitting like with her legs just like spread eagle.
Listen, I'm in my 30s now and I don't care. Not even like a fraction of a fuck of caring. So.
Oh, yeah. Like I have like this giant ottoman that basically is as big as a coffee table. So like when you sit on my couch, you can just like sprawl out. Just like literally starfish, and it's the most comfortable thing ever.
Oh my God. Speaking of starfish, you know what I rewatched the other day?
What?
Like not even the other day, it was like a few weeks ago. Remember that song from Charlie the Unicorn 3 with the starfish?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I rewatched that and I was like, why did I like this so much?
It's funny. I recently, okay. So Smosh bought their channel back, and ever since that happened, I like fell down a hole of just like rewatching like all these early 2000s like popular like YouTube videos and like what was it, like the Power Thirst and Charlie the Unicorn and like all these other things that were relevant like a lifetime ago.
Right.
And I'm like, why did we think this was funny? Like,
I know. It was like random humor was the thing back then.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no wonder why when you and I did that episode where we looked at the survey we did in high school, it was the most cringiest thing on the planet.
Oh, I hated it. I'm like, why did I want to read this so bad?
God, that was torture. And I don't think, I think that's the only one, right? Or there might be more. I don't know.
I have not a clue.
What if they exist? I don't even want to look at them because
I think God Vampire Freaks like deleted all the profiles on there and now it's just a shop. So I never have to look at that shit ever again.
So cringe.
Everyone I met from that website is bad shit. And it's just like, I'm not friends with a single person from Vampire Freaks anymore. Not even one.
I don't think I am either. There's like one guy who like makes like a new profile every 2 weeks that like tries to add me. And I'm just like, bro, if I didn't add you the first 17 times, I'm not going to do it on the 18th. Like,
right. I'm sorry.
please.
If you're on your 18th Facebook profile, just get the fuck off the website. Like, at this point, you don't know how to internet, so just leave.
Honestly, it's so annoying when I have like 6 and I'm talking about you, Sal. It's annoying. Like 6 different I love Sal, so I can make fun of him. 6 different incarnations of the same person are not necessary.
I know. I stopped adding the new ones. I'm like, this is the one I'm keeping. Whatever you make after this, don't fucking add me because I can't.
Really. I think I've had my Facebook and you too for like 13 years.
Yeah, since 2010.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I've been banned like twice in that time.
I never got banned, but I did get like a strike once because I posted like a half an inch of thigh and Facebook hated it. And I'm just like, now you want to clock me for my slutty fucking pictures? Like, thanks, you know?
Yeah, like I've definitely gotten that, or like shared artwork where you could see like a nipple. And I'm like, this is art. Like, please.
This is in a museum where children go. Like, I don't want to hear it, guy, you know?
Yeah, no. Like, their algorithm is so like fucked up. And like,
well, it's all fucked up too because they allow predators and child trafficking on that fucking website, but you show a nipple and they'll ban your whole profile for 30 days. And it's like,
yeah,
what the fuck, you know?
That is like a whole other like rabbit hole we can go down at some point.
Yeah, I know. We're not doing it today, but man.
Yeah, no. What was I gonna say? What were we just talking about? I lost my train of thought, Lauren.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm like,
so what I was gonna say was the 2 times I've ever been banned, it was only for like a couple of days. And they both happened when I was with my ex. So
I know,
which we'll get into more later in this episode because today's the day we're talking about boundaries, boys and girls. Like,
this is the boundaries episode.
It is about boundaries, about how we have like committed to keeping our boundaries and setting boundaries and not fucking budging on it, because for a long time, you and I were very good at just letting people, for lack of a better way to put it, just walk all over us because we felt like we had to. So we're going to get into that a little bit later. But today's the day we are doing it. It's going to be great. So buckle the fuck up.
Yep.
The other thing though, I wanted to get into, because I mentioned it briefly in the last episode, was we wanted to talk about like some of our experience with like mediums.
Oh yeah.
Just because we didn't think it was necessary to devote like an entire episode to this, because it's not like we don't have that much to say about it, but like we did want to
have something to say about it.
Well, yeah, not an hour and a half worth though. Well, maybe. We're not doing a full episode on it. That's my point.
I mean, we don't need to go into like the things that mediums have told us, but just like, you know.
Right. Yeah, no, if that was the case, it would be like a 3-hour episode.
Yeah, because we've heard a lot from mediums. Oh my God. Because we have like people usually, you know, lose 1 or 2 people in their lifetime and whatever. We have lost so many people. So there was a lot of people trying to come through and be like, hey, hi, how's it going? And it's just like, you know.
Yeah, I know. And it's great. Every time I've talked to a medium, they're like, okay, there's like 6 people here. Like, who are we talking to first? So the way we actually started like getting into it and like seeing mediums was, funny enough, my mother, our mother, who is very religious, like doesn't really believe that kind of thing. She thinks it's a little hokey or whatever. She had went and got a massage at a spa, And the medium who we actually, or the massage therapist ended up being the medium that we ended up seeing for how long now? Like 7-8 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. And she didn't know she was a medium when she went there. She just randomly, you know, had her that day. And I guess my grandma had come through and was saying some messages. My mom couldn't even relax at that point because she was just like sobbing uncontrollably.
Yeah.
So she had taken her business card, and this is like, I don't know what year it was. It was like a couple years before Chris passed away. My late boyfriend,
probably
Chris.
2013, 2014.
Yeah, something like that. So after he had passed, my mom was like, well, you should go talk to her because she like really seems like she's good, you know, because she said all these amazing things to me and I wasn't even there for that. I was just trying to get a massage. So I was like, okay, she was about, an hour away from where I am. She's like down near the coast. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'll go. Cause I was kind of skeptical myself. I was like, never really like talked to a medium before. So we ended up going and wow, like I went back before the end of that year. I think I went like 3 times.
Yeah.
And she helped so tremendously. She also does Reiki with her mediums. And if no one's familiar with Reiki, it's like an ancient form of like energy healing. Like it bounces your energy fields in your body and stuff. It's powerful. So I had to go 3 times before I felt normal again.
Which is bizarre.
It's insane because even her name is Nancy, the medium. Even Nancy was like, wow, that's like, I never see people this frequently, but she's like, you definitely need it though. And ever since, it's been like a once or maybe twice a year thing that we do just to, get some perspective and kind of, guide us along in life. And honestly, I've never, except for one time, we did have a bad experience with a medium, but it was not Nancy or anyone else. It was a group reading with some guy who claimed to be what did he call himself? Like a medical medium or something like that?
Well, I think he was a cop or a detective or something. And
is that what it was?
I think so. And he also happened to be like a medium. So he was holding like a group meeting at like this store that sold crystals and shit and whatever. And like we ended up going and there was like us and like 10 other women. It was only women that went, the only guy there was the medium. And like
which is
it was
weird.
Really bad because like I asked him like some really personal questions and he was just kind of cold about it, in matter of fact.
Yeah, he also said like some damaging shit about like, oh no, you only have like a 10% chance of having a kid because we have PCOS. And
and he basically put a number on it. It's like, yeah, I only see about a 10% chance of you having a kid. And the way he said it so casually, it just like really upset me,
Yeah, it like, same thing with me too. And it like fucked us up for a while. And I remember we had talked to Nancy like a month or so after that. And she was like, oh my God, she was like, yeah, no, like, don't listen to that. Like most medical mediums, like that's not like how you go about it, Yeah. So yeah, like, and that's the thing with mediumship is that it's not meant to replace like science, like a doctor's advice or medical advice or, things like that. It's meant to help you. But it's not meant to like replace like, like taking antibiotic or whatever the case may be, So, and we understand that going into it, but we don't go for medical things or like physical thing. It's more like emotional things, which I think is what mediumship and, readings and things like that, it should be focused on because that's really where it helps the most. Like,
right.
Yeah, you can go and like if you're terminally ill or something, like they can tell you this, that, and the other thing, but it's not going to replace, the medical advice that you're receiving, So
right.
I just wanted to make the disclaimer too, because a lot of people, especially with things like tarot readings and, you know, doing crystal healing and things like that, which are all things that you and I have been into for quite a while. And I've been reading tarot for what, like 15 years now when I got my first deck. But, you know, we don't condone replacing it over, you know, legitimate medical advice or, you know, seeing like a therapist or something like that. Like,
yeah, it's only a part of healing. It's not supposed to heal you entirely. So.
right. Like, you know, you're not going to just drink some elderberry syrup and then be cured unless you have a virus or something. Like, it'll help your symptoms. But, like, you're not going to just, like, you know, take this magical, like, elixir and be cured of whatever ailment you have.
Yeah, put like a frog's leg in a cauldron with like the fang of a wolf and some shit, and then bam, you know.
Yeah, no, we don't believe that. You know, it helps, you know, for like symptoms and, you know, like when I get sore throats, which I'm kind of prone to, I'll drink like lemon tea and, you know, do stuff like that. But I mean, I'm not gonna, you know, do that and then not ignore medical advice. Like, I think that's ignorant,
Right.
you know? And that's just because I have a background in like a small medical background where, you know, I dealt with doctors and I saw stuff like this happen all the time. So, yeah. So I just wanted to make that clear too. Like, we're not telling people like believe this and ignore like fucking medical advice and shit like that, because that's not the case. So,
Right.
you know, and if you're really disturbed, like, you know, about something or really need to work through something, like, go see a therapist, like, whatever. Like, apparently everybody sees therapists now, you know,
Yep.
myself included, after the events that unfolded with my previous relationship. So, but no, I really love, like, I encourage everybody to go talk to a medium at least once, you know, like, especially if you're skeptical.
Yeah.
Like, usually it's the skeptical people or the people that are like, no, this is full of bullshit. As someone who was skeptical to begin with, that end up being like, wow, this is actually great.
Because even if you don't have like, you know, someone who's passed on that you want to talk to directly, they'll connect you with like your spirit guides and stuff and give you messages like that, you know?
Right. Like general messages or,
Yeah.
you know, just like, you know, because a lot of people go in and they don't know like exactly what they want to, you know, talk about or address. You know, a lot of people like me, I went in and I was like, well, my boyfriend passed away. So that's something to focus on. But some people, like you said, like they don't experience like death or trauma or whatever like you and I have, you know?
Which, God bless, because I feel like everyone does now. And if you haven't, you are so lucky.
I envy you.
Mhm.
But, you know, I always found it was great. And like I did one recently with a different medium, and I'm going to shout him out here because I'm like actually like I'm friends with him on Facebook and he's actually cool as fuck. His name is Christopher Brown. And he's
no relation.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's
God.
right. I keep forgetting that is your last name now.
Yes, it is.
Yikes. I keep forgetting. I'm sorry, Lord.
Every time we hear the last name Brown now, and I'm like, we're not related. And I have to remember that it's my new last name, not my maiden name. So
Yeah, it's crazy. But no, he's up in Maine, and he's actually like assisted with a lot of paranormal research groups and things like that on investigations, and goes to conventions and does readings and things like that. It's a little bit different from what the medium Nancy that we see, what she does, you know, because she actually like teaches mediumship classes, and she, you know, does more like the physical side of it too, like the Reiki stuff and the healing. So mediums, there's different like facets with everyone. It's just, you know, depends on what you're comfortable with and what you like doing and what works for you. Like, you know, you and I are pendulum readers, you know, like we use pendulums all the time. A lot of people don't really know how it works. Some people like scrying, some people like Ouija boards, which I shy away from greatly.
Which we both cannot express enough how not okay Ouija boards are.
Yeah.
Like, after going to the Warren's Occult Museum, which we talked about in a past episode, I literally don't even put one near me. I don't want to see it because they are that fucking dangerous. I swear. And they sell it like it's a children's toy. That's what pisses me off. It's like Hasbro fucking sells Ouija boards, and it's just like, why? You know?
They're, for people that are sensitive, they're dangerous. And if you don't know what you're doing,
it's even more dangerous.
It's even more dangerous. Like if you don't know how to shield or how to properly like close circles and things like that, it's dangerous, you know?
Yeah, because here's excuse me, here's the thing about it is, because Megan mentioned we're pendulum readers. The pendulum, when you use it to contact a specific spirit, you know, of someone, and a Ouija board opens the channel to any spirit, not just who you're looking for. So you don't know what kind of fucking shit is going to come through there. And that's how demonic possession and shit happens, you know?
Yeah, like
they allow... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I would say they allow these spirits into their home or wherever they are, and they take over, you know, and it's scary. And especially if you don't know how to close the portal and, you know, protect yourself from it. Like, that's why I just don't mess with it at all. A pendulum is a lot safer.
Yeah. And like, I always say like the channel is too wide. It's too much. It's kind of like, you know, remember when there was like 1,000 cable channels available, like how many years ago after having 3 for so many years? Mm-hmm. It's like, that's what it's like. It's like, there's too much that can happen. You don't really know like what's going to come in. And like, I watched something interesting recently about shadow people. I don't know how much you know about like this phenomena, but like shadow people are basically like spirits that have not like left yet because they have some kind of unresolved like issue, or they don't want to, like they're here to help someone, like, and everyone thinks that they're like these otherworldly things, but shadow people aren't actually like non-human like how demons have been described. They're human spirits. They're just trapped between, I guess, what people would refer to as like purgatory. You know, and from what I learned recently too with the reading I did with Christopher Brown, what I learned from him was that when someone takes their own life, they don't get sent to purgatory. They still pass on, you know, like they're not banished there forever and unable to pass on. So I thought that was interesting too. And if you don't agree with anything that I'm saying, by the way, that's fine. But please keep your comments to yourself. Like we
you can disagree and that's fine, but you don't have to be a dick about it.
Yeah.
Like you can think what you think and not be a dick. You know what I mean? It's fine. Like,
save your, you know, lectures for someone that gives a fuck, because it's not me. Like, that's all I'm saying.
My fucks have run dry and I really don't care anymore.
My fucks are so vacant. Like, I have used my last supply of fucks and we are going through a fuck famine right now. Like,
dude, I feel the fuck famine to an nth degree. You know what I mean?
The fuck famine of 2023.
Yeah.
And take that as you will, because it has more meaning. But anyway.
Well, maybe for some people.
Well,
anyway.
For me, definitely. So yeah, we I don't know. I really like, you know, this kind of stuff, and you do too, obviously. Like, we're just very big into like, you know, mediumship and what they do and how they help people, because, you know, there are people, and that's the thing, a lot of people think they're hokey, but like, there are scammers out there, you know.
But like, I just feel like, I guess it's just me, I feel like it's so blatantly obvious when they're scamming you.
Right. Like, a medium will never ask you for, like, you know, like, details about your life. Like, all the real, like, genuine, true, good mediums we have seen.
They don't want to know a thing about you. Just what your name is and who you're trying to get in contact with, probably. And, like, that's it.
Yeah. And you don't have to tell the relation. Like,
yeah.
I did. Like, I remember the first time I talked to Nancy, I said, my boyfriend just passed away. That's all I told her. And then she came out with stuff that I've never even said out loud verbally ever to anyone. It's like, she like reached into my subconscious and it freaked me right out. So
yeah, and like the thing about like true mediums too is they are not plastered everywhere. Like if you just type in medium online reading and someone comes up, it's 9 times out of 10 a scam. So
yeah, like if you want to see like genuine mediums, you have to really like go to places like
crystal shops or
yeah,
places like that, and you really have to find the true mediums because they don't advertise themselves like that.
And I like to think that the mediums will almost like find you for like when you need it. It's almost like fate when you like come across someone like that, because like what happened with Nancy, like our mother just happened to like see her when she went to go get a massage, and now she's like one of our greatest mentors and someone we talk to regularly, like, it's, I like to think that's almost the way it should happen. Like it's not going to be like on TV where a medium approaches you on the street and says, I'm getting a message from your grandmother. Like that's not practical. Like that's not real, like, and I mean, I guess it could happen, but the likeliness of that happening, because mediums also understand that, like, yes, they receive messages, but like also you don't want to bombard people when they're least expecting it and not, willing to receive those messages either.
Right.
That's where the conflict comes in. So, yeah, like they're scammers, like they're scammers on everything now. They're scammers on YouTube, on Instagram, on fucking, and like literally everywhere, trying to find new work and going on places like Indeed. You can't anymore because there's scammers like everywhere on that website, trying to get you to give you your bank information. Like they exist everywhere.
I know, it's unbelievable. Also, is someone really doing yard work right now? Fucking assholes. I fucking hate it here. I'm sorry.
It would not be a Gemini Archives episode if there was not external noise.
I swear on my whole life, it has been quiet here all week up until an hour ago before we started recording. And I'm like,
so
why?
Sorry.
Out of all we should have done it 2 days ago when it was raining and no one was outside, and everyone was quiet. But I was not in the mood. I know, it was my fault. I wasn't in the mood. I was like, I don't feel like talking today.
No, I get it.
I should have just sucked it up though, because God, it's like now the sun sets at like 5 o'clock here because of daylight savings time. So the second the sun goes away, everyone goes inside, which is really nice. But during like the 8 hours of sun we get during the day, everyone is outside and everyone is loud, and I cannot stand it anymore. It's like, why, people of Utah? Why do you all have to be outside at one time whenever the sun is out? It drives me fucking insane.
Oh, it's not just Utah, because same, like when it's nice out, I live next door to a pizza place. It is fucking packed. There are people everywhere. Like, you can't catch a break with, no matter what you do, you go into public or home or whatever. It's like people are just loud, and everywhere. And
unless you live in the middle of the goddamn woods with no one within 7 miles of your house, you don't get any privacy. And even still, the bears and the deer and the wolves are going to be loud as shit too. It's like, it's just never going to be quiet ever. And like, I'm 31 and it's like, at this point, I just want a quiet room where no one can touch me,
I'm not going to do it. I wanted to, but I'm not going to do it.
What?
Touch.
Don't touch.
For the SpongeBob fans.
Yes.
That was for you.
Anyway, sorry, mini rant over, but God, it's every fucking day there's something going on here. I can't wait to get a house and get away from these fucking people, because it's not just like it's 2 families or something. It's like multiples of family. It's like 20 people, 20 different families, I should say.
Well, you're also
All I
in
probably want.
Utah, where people have at least 9 children. Like,
Oh, I know. A minimum of 3 to 4 children per household, at least. If you have less than 3 children, people look at you like you're crazy, especially if you have no kids. It's like, what are you doing in Utah? It's like, I didn't plan on moving here, and spending my whole life here, but here I am, Christ.
you can always come back to Connecticut.
Yeah, we might have to and just go live on the beach because I can and put up a 10-foot wall that no one can climb over so I could be left the fuck alone.
In a moat.
And a moat with an alligator in it.
And a drawbridge.
Mm-hmm.
That's my dream. Honestly, my dream is to live in a giant Victorian house, like surrounded by a moat in the middle of nowhere. Like,
God,
that
would
dream.
be the best life.
Would be so great, but that's not going to happen for...
Dude, like, even when I played The Sims 4, I always end up putting my Sims in the middle of nowhere because I'm like, this is where I want to be, And yet, they still spawn Sims right next to my Sims house in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, why? Where are these people going,
Oh, I know, like...
crazy.
Like I said in the last episode, I just started playing The Sims again, so I've missed so much in 2 years. I'm trying out like the university like thing because I never done it before.
Oh my gosh!
And like I have.
Oh sorry.
Oh sorry. Go ahead.
I would say, is your Sim living in a dorm?
Yes, because I'm like, I just want to see what it's like. But it is so annoying because there's people constantly going in and out that don't even live there. Just like. Sitting and watching the TV, and I'm just like, dude, what the... And like the roommate I have like just loves to play the violin all day, fucking day.
I hate that. I hate how they always play the goddamn violin, or if God forbid you have a stereo, they put it up at full volume, and it's like the worst music in the game. And it's like, come on, like at least put on like the metal station. You know what I mean?
I mean, honestly, like. My dumbass literally put like Iron Maiden's first 2 albums into the game. So if the radio is on, there's a slight chance that I can hear like Purgatory come on the radio. Yeah. And like, I'm not even fucking kidding. Because I'm like, if I have to be subjected to this fucking music, like at least it's going to be mine. And like, sure enough, like, I don't know what my Sim was doing, but then all of a sudden Iron Maiden came on the radio and I was like, God bless. Like, thank you. But yeah, like, no, the university thing is like, and I didn't realize like how long it actually fucking like you're there for. Like, yeah, I thought it was like a week in the sim game and then you graduate, but
no, it's 3 weeks in the game, which is like almost the entire oh god, entire adult lifespan, Oh,
that's good.
So I always put it on long lifespan just so it's like they have time to live outside of fucking university.
Yeah. I was like having flashbacks because I had to make her like study and do research and projects. And I'm like, oh God, I'm getting like post-war flashbacks of just like us sitting in the library for like 6 hours. Like,
oh my gosh, it was the worst.
Like all the notes. I have like 20 notebooks just full of notes.
I know. I threw them all away because I'm like, I graduated. I've been done. So I just threw it all out. That in every like 2 years, they're teaching something different. So what's the fucking point?
Oh, I know.
Like any of that, it's outdated after 2 years.
Yeah. And apparently like all my mortuary books that I have, like have not been updated in like decades. Like it's still all the same. And that's why I kept them. The other stuff I just got rid of or sold back or whatever. But I kept like my embalming textbook, my merchandising textbook. I have a mortuary law book that I still have, like all this shit. And the mortuary law book is probably outdated too because laws constantly fucking change. So, but yeah, no, doing the university thing, I was like having flashbacks. I'm like, I'm sweating. I think I want to pull out. Like,
yeah.
Can you drop out?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
You just don't sign up for another semester and that's it.
Gotcha. I was going to say, because I don't know if I can do 3 weeks in the fucking game. Like, It's a lot,
it.
especially like living there and having roommates. There's like 6 people that live in this one house, and it's like I had to like lock her door for her room. Otherwise, like people just like walk in and like just start going on her computer and like talking to her while she's like.
They have a setting now where you can lock a Sim's computer for just them, so no one else can use it.
I just did that yesterday.
Oh,
and I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing, and I was like,
yeah,
thank God. So. Yeah, I've been like fucking around with the Sims and like the stuff I haven't like really, seen since I stopped playing it 1,000 years ago. But I don't know how we got on the subject for mediums, but here we are.
I don't know, but we're gonna have to take a break here in a minute because everyone's being loud around me, and I just need 5 minutes for them to just stop so we can like actually record.
Okay. Yeah. So case in point, we like mediums. We go see mediums. If that's something you agree with, that's fine. It's something that we are into, so we just want to talk about that a little bit because I don't know, I always think it's interesting, and honestly I heavily encourage everyone to just go just once. If you would like information about like good, like legitimate, reputable mediums, you can email us at thegeminiarchives@gmail.com.
Please email us. We have not gotten a single email.
Not one. I would be stunned if one day you randomly checked the email and we had an email from
I'd be like, I'd be so thrilled.
Oh, I would die. I would be so excited.
Me too.
But yeah, no, we're gonna go take a break because today is the day. Like I said, we're doing the boundary episode, so I'm gonna do some push-ups and mentally prepare for that. Actually, I'm not doing push-ups. Let's be honest. Like I'm going to get more coffee, probably.
Yeah, or something. I need to get a drink because otherwise, I'm like so sluggish today, and I have to go to the grocery store later, and I just do not want to, but I have to because I have no food. And
what is it about the grocery store, though? Like, you hate going, but then when you come back, you're like, wow, I'm so glad I went.
Oh my gosh. I know. And I look at my husband and I'm like, this is the only store I go in where we're just making purchases. We are not shopping. Because the less time I have to be in this grocery store, the more of my sanity I can keep. You know what I mean?
Why does everyone always act the same in the grocery store, too?
I have not a clue, but people are so stupid. And I mean, and I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but I feel like we can go at any time of day, first thing in the morning, mid-afternoon, late at night. It doesn't matter. Why is it when I need to get a specific thing, someone is always standing right in front of it?
I think that's a you thing, Lauren, because every time we would just go to Ulta or like CVS or like, just any other store besides the grocery store. It would have like Lauren would just need one thing, and there's always someone standing directly in front of what she needs.
I know, either trying to buy it or they're having a conversation and they have their back to it and they're just standing and I'm like, now I got to be an asshole and be like, fucking excuse me, I got to get this one thing, and I'm the asshole because I told him to move. But it's like, how about you don't block an aisle, you son of a bitch? Like, oh man, it just makes me so mad. Like, and it's always the meat section, it's always like the steaks and the chicken and the whatever. There's a huge wall of meat at the grocery store we go to, and there's always 4 to 6 people looking at every single cut of meat like it's their job. And I'm like, pick one and move. I can't take it. It's like, I want 2 chicken breasts and like a steak. That's all I want if it's on sale. Or it's sometimes ground beef if we run out. But otherwise, it's like, I'm not looking at anything else. I know what I want. Give me 1 minute to find the one I want to get, and then I'm out of the fucking way. But no, people sit there for hours just looking at the meats. And I'm just like, why?
Do you feel better?
Oh, that has been on my mind for a while. I'm sorry. I'm like, this is going to be so much TMI, but I am just getting off my period. So like, I am like in a mood today.
So it's just hormonal rage.
Yeah, pretty much. My poor husband has been dealing with me for like almost 2 weeks like this now. And I need to go buy him chocolate today because I feel bad.
It's okay, honey. Just eat the Hershey's bar and just relax. Everything's
No, it'd be the
fine.
Reese's bar because he's a peanut butter fiend. So,
Ooh, same. Honestly,
it's
Why
always
is it-
Reese's or sour gummy worms. Sorry, go ahead.
why is it that Quinn and I love the exact same things?
I have no idea.
It's
I really
like,
don't.
It's creepy almost. Like every time I'm like, oh, I love this. Quinn's like, oh yeah, that's my favorite too, or vice versa. And I'm like, you would marry the male version of me, Lauren.
I know, and he acts like dad too, which is like even more crazy. He's like goofy like him.
Oh yeah, the two
Oh.
of them together, I can't. Like,
Oh my gosh, when we FaceTime every week, it like they crack me up and make me roll my eyes at the same time, you know?
oh, I can only because Dad's the kind of person like if Quinn starts, then Dad will like kind of piggyback on that, and then it doesn't stop ever.
No, it's dad plants the seed and then Quinn runs with it for 16 miles. That's what happens. And dad just laughs and laughs and laughs, and then he adds to it. And I'm like, you're not helping, you know?
And Lauren's like not even phased. She's just like, whatever.
I've lived with it for like almost 3 years now. You know, it's like I'm immune to it.
I mean,
Oh.
I understand.
I
But
mean,
yeah.
we still laugh and have a good time, but like sometimes I'm just like, God help me, you know?
I understand. But
Anyway, we should have ended this like 10 minutes ago. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no, we're gonna go to a break.
Yes.
I'm putting in an Impaled Nazarene song that has been stuck in my head for like a month and a half. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, just this one song, and it's like not even the original version of the song. It's like a re-recorded version from like a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I think this is the stupidest fucking song title ever. It's called The Horny and the Horned. I hate that title. Hate
Ew.
it. Some of the best riffs in existence. The stupidest name. Like, Mika, get your shit together. Like, why? Please. Anyway, so I just had to express my grievance over the name of that song, but it's fucking awesome. So I'm going to put that in here. I'm going to put in that version, I should say, here. And when we get back, we're going to do the boundary thing. Are you excited?
Yes and no.
I know. Nobody wants to talk about boundaries, but you know what? We have to. So it's happening.
We simply must. So
we have to. But anyway, we're going for a break and we will be right back.
Holy
And we're back.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back. So, are you ready?
Yes.
I don't know if I am. This is a hard thing for me and Lauren to talk about just because it's something that has like affected us for basically our entire lives, a very long time.
Yeah, and this is kind of a realization we had this year about how we just kind of let people walk all over us, and just do what they want, and we never say anything about it. And this year has been like this running like thing of like we are setting boundaries for ourselves. And if that means people are going to get mad, people are going to do whatever, then so fucking be it. They shouldn't be in my life anyway. You know?
And it's been hard because, oh God, I'm so sorry. Try not to burp in the mic. Coffee. It's been hard just because, you and I naturally are just the kind of people that are very like generous. We've always been that way. And like, we shouldn't have to like compromise our good nature to, account for people that don't know how to fucking act, like at least that's how I feel, like I shouldn't have to, be cold and act like an asshole because, I don't want people taking advantage of me. People are going to take advantage of you no matter what. So,
well, exactly.
So it's hard for us to like sometimes know when to like set the boundary because we're not like mean-spirited people. Contrary to popular belief, we are not, and it's crazy how like literally at the start of this year, you and I like had this conversation. This is where this episode is coming from. Like it was a 4-hour phone call where we were like, okay, and like we just kind of like look back on things like, why does this keep happening? Like, why are we just like not feeling fulfilled in life? And this is going to get a little personal. So if you don't like personal podcasts, you can go back
to next time.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. You can go back to the episode where we read Pornhub comments or whatever.
Yeah,
so
good episode, by the way.
Yes, it is a very hilarious episode, or one of our other episodes. So if this is not your thing, we will see you next time. But hello, people that are open-minded and willing. Anyway, so yeah, we had this like 4-hour phone. Literally, it was like 4 hours long, and we were just like, you know what? We have to stop letting this happen. We have to start like setting boundaries because we have struggled with that our entire lives, and partly, and we're not getting into this at all, but it was partly the way we were raised. But the other part of it is just, how we are as people. Like we're very empathetic people, who are just so ready and willing to just give when we can, not even just like in a physical sense, but like emotional support and things like that, because time is precious, like if somebody gives you their ear for longer than an hour, they give a shit about you,
Yeah,
like,
it's true.
So it was just one of those things where at the beginning of the year, we are sticking to the boundary thing this year. If there's something in our lives that is not going right, or if there's something wrong, or if we need to like speak up, we're fucking doing it.
Also, sorry, if there's someone right outside my window working on the engine of their car. So if you hear any noise, that's what that is.
I mean, sorry, I don't hear anything. No, it's all right. I mean, I don't hear anything. So you're
just
good.
In case it picks up for whatever fucking reason, because I live in purgatory. I really do. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. But so yeah, that was like literally what, like January, February, like the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
And it started because, with Lauren planning the wedding and everything, like we talked about the last episode, there was so much that went into it. And like, there were so many different people trying to tell her to do this or be this or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Lauren, you just have to speak up and be like, no, this is my wedding. Like, I understand after watching you go through this experience why bridezillas exist. Like, of course, some of them are too dramatic, but like...
Yeah, some of them really do have all the control, and God forbid one small thing goes wrong, they go off the deep end, which I kind of understand now because it's like the one day in your life where you get to be like that, and...
Right.
But you shouldn't take your anger out on people. I was the polar opposite of a bridezilla. I was too, like, complacent, you know,
The
and
point where
calm.
Allie and I were like, "Are you okay? Like, is everything
I
fine?"
know.
On your wedding day, you were the most calm person.
I know, and otherwise I'm like a fucking basket case, but like on my wedding day, I was fine. What the
Yeah,
fuck,
like
you know?
Allie and I were the ones like shielding you from the chaos because it was happening.
I know, I had the
But
best bridal party on the planet, really.
yeah, literally, we were like, don't say anything to Lauren. Like, just keep quiet. I'm the one arguing with my mother through gritted teeth in the other room. Like, could you just fucking like that's me the whole
Yeah.
wedding. So then, as soon as we got there and I had to be in pictures, everything was great. But um,
Anyway, we did the whole episode about that last time, so
yeah. But that's kind of where it started from. So
yeah.
And you know, once Lauren like kind of was a little bit more assertive about it, and she was like, "Wow, like this actually helps so much," and it led to other things happening throughout the year, like with your cat Dobby. I don't know if you want to talk about that, but
well, yeah, because here's what happened is when I moved to Salt Lake 2 years ago, we moved into, well, my husband was living with his brother, you know, my now brother-in-law, Tyler. And where we were living, it was, he had a cat from his ex-wife because she didn't want him, and his name is Dobby. He was a tuxedo, the cutest cat. And
he was so cute.
yeah, the other roommate had 2 cats. So there was like 3 cats and then the 4 of us living together in like one like 3-bedroom like little townhouse, you know. If you could even call it that. It was tinier than that. But the other roommate ended up moving out like a month later, and he brought in 2 dogs, which eventually became 3 dogs because his girlfriend brought in another dog. So at that point, that's when my husband and I knew, like, we got to move. We've got to get out of here because I don't want to see Dobby get hurt by these dogs and all this. So we felt kind of peer pressured into taking him with us, you know, like, and then we moved out a month after the new roommate moved in. And it was nothing against him or the dogs or anything. I just worried about Dobby because he did not like dogs. He was like kind of mean to them. And, you know, we had to keep him locked in the room and stuff like that. So we just kind of took him because Tyler didn't know what to do. So we're like, hey, we'll take him. And I'm like, I've had cats before. I know how to take care of them. Like, we're going to move anyway. So we'll take him and it'll be fine. So it worked out really well at the time, you know, and then we moved in here at the end of August of 2021. And it started out pretty good. It was fine. Like, Dobby was totally fine. But then eventually it got to the point where he was so demanding of my time, and especially of Quinn's time. Like, he was attached at the hip to him. So when he started working out of the house, he would just get into shit and he'd be out of control. Like, I've never had a cat do that before. I'm used to like our cats, Meg, like who just are aloof and just like sleep for 21 hours a day.
Yeah,
you know,
like Frost literally would appear when he wanted food, pets, and like that was it. And then
I wanted to play for like 15 minutes, and then it's same with Picasso, if not even less than Frost. Like, she never comes out. You know, she's content being by herself and comfortable, and like that's fine. But like Dobby was very, like, he was always in our face. We couldn't like sit next to each other on the couch. And I had it because it got to the point where he was so out of control. We literally had to quit our jobs because I was working from home. I literally could not work because he would be in and out of the office, and I couldn't close the door either because he would scratch the doors up, and I cannot afford to replace that here in this apartment. So he would like come in and out, and he'd be swatting at me and like getting me to like try and leave the computer, and like he just didn't want me to be anywhere else except for where he wanted me to be, you know. And I'm like, I'm not letting this fucking cat run my life. Like, he was so cute when he got his way, you know, but I never had a cat like him before. And I can't believe I'm saying all this because I feel really guilty because people love their cats, but we didn't choose this cat, you know. We took him out of guilt and fear of him getting hurt by dogs. That's what happened, you know? So talking about the boundary thing, my husband gets a new job and where he's working out of the house again. Okay. And he's like half an hour away. I mean, now he works even closer now, but he just is up the street from where he lived versus 30 minutes, which is great. But at the time he was 30 minutes away, and it's just like he would have to leave here at like 8 a.m, and then he'd be home at like almost 7 o'clock at night. So almost 12 hours a day he was out of the house. And I was here with Dobby all day, every day, with him just like screaming, for Quinn to get home. Like, he did not want me. He wanted Quinn all the time. And I'm like, it was to the point where I felt like I couldn't do anything because this cat was just so demanding of my time, and so demanding of our time, to where I felt like I couldn't go places. We went to visit Connecticut last year before the wedding, and leaving him alone for 5 days, I was a nervous wreck, I mean, he wasn't alone. Like, my mother-in-law came and like fed him and like played with him for a bit every day, which is great. And I really appreciated her doing that, but it was just too stressful. So one day I just had a huge panic attack, and I looked at my husband in the eyes and I'm like, we've got to rehome this cat. I cannot take it anymore. I need to work. You need to be able to come home to not a stressful environment. Like, this is enough, So I put up the boundary, and I'm like, I'm setting a boundary right now. We are not letting this cat bully us anymore. We're bringing him to the Humane Society, or unless I tried asking around for weeks, for everyone that we knew here, family, friends, whoever. No one could take him. So we brought him to the Humane Society, which, by the way, they do not euthanize their animals. They are very friendly. They rehomed him in a week and a half, like unbelievably quick.
Yeah,
so,
which we were stunned.
I know. They really work fast at the one here in Utah, the one in Murray, Utah. They are incredible. And let me say, too, the people who work there are so good at their job, because they made us feel, they didn't make us feel guilty. They were very understanding, and they were gentle with us, and they made it as easy as humanly possible for us to do this. So I did. So we brought him at the beginning of April, and because we had to wait 3 weeks, that's like the earliest they could get us in. So we had him for an extra 3 weeks, but we brought him in, and he was just mad because he had to go in the carrier. He didn't even know what was going on, but I think that night when he was there, he like figured it out. And I felt so guilty when we got home for doing that. But I'm like, you know what? I can't feel guilty, because this cat was taking over my life, and we weren't ready for pets. Or like, people are asking us now that we're married if we're going to have kids. I'm not even ready for a pet yet. Like, right. I have too much anxiety. I have too much going on. Like, we travel back and forth to Connecticut all the time. It's like, I cannot afford to have a pet right now. I really can't. So, but it ended up being the best case scenario, because we called the Humane Society a couple times to check up on him and stuff, because they knew we really cared about him. We really didn't want to, but we had no other choice, because otherwise it was going to make my health deteriorate, my mental health deteriorate. It was bad. And same with Quinn too, because he couldn't even take it either. And like, we called a couple times. Well, he did. Quinn called a couple times. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I was too anxious about it. I'm like, God, just let him be okay. First time we called him, though, he was having problems like using the bathroom. So they unlisted him for a couple of days, and then he got better, and they put him back up and stuff. And the second they did, he got rehomed. And it was they didn't say, two specifics, but it was a woman who was just about to retire, lives by herself, has no other pets, and is just looking for a companion. Which is perfect, because he just wants someone with him 24 hours a day.
I was going to say, that's like ideally what you wanted for him anyway.
Exactly. So by setting that boundary, he now is in the best possible scenario that he could be in. That woman is probably spoiling the hell out of him right now. And I could kiss her for doing that for us. I really could. Like, in the Humane Society. Like, I'm so grateful that we got help. And take this as like another tale too. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Because especially for you and I, Meg, like, we have just felt so guilty for asking for help for so long, because we were made to feel like asking for help is a sign of weakness. It's not. Please get the courage to ask for help for anything, because there's people who will help you. I know there's people who won't, but there is going to be someone who will help you. And I promise you that, Oh,
it's true. Like, especially lately, I've had to reach out for a lot of help in like more than one way. And it's like, at first it kind of took a hit to my pride, but now I'm like, no, like, this is good. It's okay to ask for help sometimes. So you're right.
Right.
And
I was gonna say, like, we'll get to yours in a second, but that was my big boundary this year was just taking control of my life and not letting anyone or anything get in my way anymore, and like do what I need to do. And I'm in a much better place now than I was at the beginning of the year. That's for sure.
Right.
You know, I feel better. Like my mental health is a little bit better, and it's still not great because there's other things I need to worry about, but you know, it's for the most part, it's better than what it was before. And that's all that progress is all that matters.
And at least like now you can like go out. You don't have to worry about him like throwing a fit when you get back. Like you have the freedom to kind of come and go. You've been much more extroverted ever since you know you put him up for adoption. So
yeah, exactly. And because there's people who want to hang out with my husband and I all the time, and you know, and not to say we're like super popular, but there's people like family mainly who want to see us and stuff. And I felt bad because I felt like we always had to be home to appease, you know, our cat. And I'm like, this sounds ridiculous, because it is ridiculous, you know. It's like I shouldn't have to be appeasing a cat, especially one that, you know, we didn't pick out ourselves. We just kind of took out of guilt, you know.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like we always had cats, but there was always someone with them too.
Right.
Like,
well, because we lived at home with our parents and our grandfather, so someone was always home with the cats. It was rare when they were alone.
Like if we went on vacation, like when we would go rent the cottage down in Narragansett, my grandpa would watch Frost. You know, for the week we were gone, or if like, you know, our parents went somewhere, Laura and I obviously took care of the cats, like we were home. Like there was always
like, because I was in a long distance relationship at the time too, when I was back in Connecticut before I met my husband. And if I went to go visit him out in California, like everyone was home, so I didn't have to worry about the cats, you know, I can just go. So
yeah,
you know, like people were always home.
Yeah, and it's a big responsibility. Like if you had a cat like Frost, who is very independent and very like whatever, like like it probably would have been different. But
yeah, and didn't stress so much whenever we left the house. So
yeah, because that's the thing with like animals, not just cats. Animals do get like separation anxiety and you know, things like that. That's a very real thing that a lot of people don't. Because a lot of people, you know, the stereotype with cats is that they're just like complacent roommates. Like they're not affectionate, they're not this, or you know, assholes into themselves.
And some can be like that, but a lot of them really want your attention.
Right. What I found, cats prefer the company of people more than anything. So
yeah, exactly.
You know, and people that think that they're not like that are fucking ignorant. But yeah. So I know, like when you set that boundary, because I remember talking to you, like when all this is happening too, like I was just sitting there like, look, I know it's hard, but you're going to feel so much better when you do it. And like,
and you're right. And you have to go through the hard thing to get to where you want to be. Like things don't just happen, you know, like you have to work for them. So it felt good to do that for myself finally. And like put my foot down and be like, no, I'm not doing this anymore, you know? And if anyone has anything to say about that, by the way, anyone wants to give me shit about rehoming a cat because, oh, you're too fucking stressed to take care of a cat, that's really selfish. So fuck you. You have no idea what I went through, first of all. Moving to a new place, being away from my family, who I've not seen barely in 2 years. Like, I was already high anxiety as it is. I could barely take care of myself. You think I could take care of a cat? It'd be more responsible for me to have the cat because, you know, I wouldn't be taking care of either of us because I'd be too stressed.
Yeah, well, that's what I told you too. Like initially I was like, if anything, this is better because you're thinking of what's better for him. Like you guys could barely afford cat food for him, you know? Like,
I know, we're broke. Like we literally, I mean, before the wedding, when we got a little good chunk of change, I mean, but it's not like anything huge, but it's enough to live now. But like at the time we were living paycheck to paycheck, if that, you know, there were sometimes we had to wait for a long time to pay bills because we just couldn't afford it. It's like, how can I even afford a cat, you know, if I can't even afford shit for myself?
Right. So
that's
yeah,
the thing. It's like people need to take care of themselves before they start taking care of others, because how can you take care of anyone else when you are suffering? You know, it's just not right.
Yeah, no, I know. And like, I mean, this whole year, I feel like all we've been doing is just setting boundaries, like with that and me with my ex, just like,
Yeah, we'll get into that now. That's all I wanted to say about that. But that was the big boundary I set this year, along with like, boundaries for the wedding and stuff, which I've already talked about. And like,
in the last episode, the thing with Rachel and, like all that.
Yeah, and anyone
stuff.
else trying to intervene with what, Quinn and I wanted for this wedding. It's just I set boundaries the whole time, and I got the wedding that I pretty much wanted, but there's still going to be, like, Quinn and I are still planning on going away and just renewing our vows and doing it our way, but no one involved. And we're not saying when we're going to do it, but we're going to do it.
Right.
So we still haven't even had our fucking honeymoon yet. We still need to do that. But
I know. What do you guys, really quickly before I get into this, where are you guys going to go? What are you doing?
Know. We literally have no idea. I know we were planning on going to Vegas, which we still kind of want to do. Or we go to Wendover, which is like the Vegas here in Utah. It's like all casinos and stuff. So
you should do that. Win like 10 grand on a fucking slot machine. Hell yeah.
I would die. I would actually die if I went to. That would be such a big help right now. So
I know. If only because I'm the worst at gambling. Like that's why I don't go, because whenever I go, I never hit. Like I always end up losing money, and I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking give these people any more of my money. Fuck. So
yeah, I know. I understand.
I know.
But yeah, I don't know. We haven't really decided yet, but we want to do it soon, obviously.
You should. Don't go during Christmas though. Apparently it's really packed.
No, I'm not going anywhere. Traveling this summer, like I talked about in the last podcast, was a fucking nightmare. I can't even imagine what Christmas is like. No, thank you. I'll stay put for Christmas.
Yeah, so. I was gonna say, like, if you come back to Connecticut for like Christmas, you'll have to come like a month in advance.
I know we'll have to go with the like right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So
anyway, yeah. Let's get into what your big boundary though.
So that was like this all happened like around like April of this year, I want to say, with Dobby.
Yeah, it was the beginning of April we rehomed him. So and then our wedding was at the end of June. So it's just going to be weird like reliving everything because I really haven't since it happened, but it's good to talk through it and like
it is, and
through it.
The short of it is Trent and I met sometime after Chris had passed away because they had known each other, and he added me online, like on Facebook and stuff, social media. Mm-hmm. He never really talked. He was just like one of those people you have on there you kind of see and like laugh at a meme every once in a while. And then sometime after our grandfather passed away, which was like March of 2020. So it was like just like right when the COVID shutdowns were starting.
Right.
We had started talking. Actually, it was a little bit before then. We had started talking a little bit more and more. And then things just kind of snowballed. We ended up like just basically inseparable. And like, I mean, he was in North Carolina. I'm still in Connecticut, but like every day, like constantly just like talking to each other, just like could not, because, we were all stuck inside. Like, it's not like he had to go anywhere. I had to go anywhere. He was out of work, collecting unemployment, like, the rest of the country, and like same. So it's not like, we had anything really, else going on. So it just like kind of developed into something like we both didn't even realize that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And it was like it was all fun at first. Like everything seemed like the way he talked to me, the way he treated me, it was just like, wow, like this is the first guy I'd like really like been interested in and had been with since Chris had passed away. And it just felt very healing for me at the time, I remember, because I'm like, I thought I was going to die alone. I was never going to be able to love again, blah, blah, blah. No, like I had opened myself back up finally. And it was amazing, like that's like the happiest I'd been in a long time, mm-hmm. Despite everything happening in the world with COVID and everything else. Like I literally just remember being just incredibly happy until I wasn't. And this should have been my red flag from the get-go. And now I realize it. There were times where I just would not hear from him. He would just disappear for like a day or two at a time. Mm-hmm. Like no explanation, no anything. Not that he owes me one, But like, you know, if you're dating someone and they just go missing, like a normal rational person would be like, what the fuck is happening? Like, where is he? Like, and then I would panic because I would think the worst because of my history with what had happened with Chris. I always assume the worst now. And, you know, that's a me thing that I know I need to work through. But, yeah, like he would just, and then get mad at me if I like called him too much when before it was never a problem and blah, blah, blah. And like he came up and visited me one time for like 2 days and everything seemed great and everything was fine from there. And eventually it got to a point where like, okay, the only way we are going to be together is if one of us makes a move. Like either I go down there or he comes up here, because we weren't able to like see each other for various reasons. The point of it being like his car was a piece of shit and he just wasn't able to rent one for various reasons. But we had made the decision that he was going to move up here because my parents were going to rent this house out to us because they had a new place to live. And I said, okay, yeah, that's great. So literally a month after you moved, Lauren, so you moved June 1st. He was here July 10th. So a little over a month of 2021. He had gotten a U-Haul, which I paid for everything. I'm just going to put that on the record right now. I fucking paid for everything. Everything. I used my stimulus check, whatever money I got from commission, stuff like that, to get his ass up here. I paid for it. Aside from gas and shit. Everything else was me. He came up here, moved in. Everything seemed fine and dandy at first. We were going out, doing normal couple things, like getting settled, blah, blah, blah. He started working right away. I was still kind of like looking for work, but then eventually got a job a couple months later. But then things just kind of spiraled. Like the veil, like kind of lifted, for lack of a better word. Like, you know, when you don't see someone every day, it's very easy to like get this idealistic image of them, you know, and because you don't see all the other bullshit that they're doing, you know, during the day and everything like that. You don't see their habits, their, you know, all of that. So
because talking on the phone is actually a really formal thing when you think about it. You know what I mean? Because you're presenting yourself in a certain way on the phone, and the second you hang up, you go back to whatever shitty things that you do afterwards, you know?
Yeah. And like, he had admitted to me that he had a problem. Like, he is drinking problem, smokes like a chimney, like all these vices and things, and no drugs, though. And I knew it happened, but I only really saw it like maybe like once a week. Like he would call me up just like shit hammered, and I just thought it was like, you know, I blamed it on COVID because I'm like, well, everyone's stuck inside, everyone's depressed, everyone's been drinking and blah, blah, blah. So I kind of rolled it off as just like, oh, it's just, you know, all the COVID shutdowns are getting to him or whatever. And then if he came up here and started working and everything, like everything would just be fine. Well, I was sadly mistaken, because it just snowballed to where he was drinking at least 12 beers a day. At least minimum 12. And, you know, I've talked about it on the podcast before. I don't drink anymore. I quit in 2016, sometime after Chris passed away, because I said if I kept doing what I was doing, I'd be dead before I was 30. And now I'm 31 and I'm still fucking here. So, it's just, I don't know. It's one of those things where it doesn't become very apparent until it's already like kind of too late. Like his drinking got really bad. You know, he told me, oh, I won't drink around you because I respect you more than that. And then he disrespected me every fucking day he was here. Every single day. And that hurts. That's emotionally damaging because, you know, and I understand vices and things like that and compulsions, but when you genuinely, truly care about someone, you'll make that fucking effort, you know?
Quick side tangent. My husband, I told him before I moved here, I'm like, if you got to stop smoking weed before I come to Utah, because I'm not living with that. Like, you need to quit, you know? Is he smoked like a chimney before, and he dropped that shit in a second because he valued our relationship more than fucking weed. And we were just talking about it the other day. He's like, that was the best, or this morning, actually. Wow. And he was like, that was the best decision I ever made. So for him to, for Trent to not, give you that respect. Sorry, were we supposed to say his name? You could bleep
I
it
mean,
out.
I've said it before on the podcast and other episodes.
Okay, well, for him to just not respect you like that, I mean, that is just the lowest form of fucking just.
I mean, and that was just the beginning of it, of the disrespect. And it's because when I was with Chris, like Chris also had a very bad drinking problem and drugs and things like that. And when we had started talking, like just before we started dating, he fucking quit everything. And like for him, who was just went so hard for years, the fact that he made that effort for me, like showed me like, wow, he actually like cares about me, but also cares enough about himself to want to be better for me, which is what a healthy relationship is.
Exactly.
So, and I had been in a healthy relationship with Chris. He kept secrets from me and all that stuff and the addiction or whatever. And he tried to fight. He tried, at least. I will give him that. He at least tried to fucking get his shit together while we were dating. And Trent never did. Like, he valued his fucking record collection more than he ever cared about me. That's he cared about. Yeah, that's a fact. Like, all he cared about when he left was getting all of his fucking tapes and vinyls and blah, blah, blah. He did not give a shit about me. He may claim it, but he doesn't give a fuck, He never, if he gave a fuck, wouldn't have been in that situation in the first place, So when he moved in, he just kind of, it like took over, for lack of a better way to put it. Like he just, like I remember when I finally like broke up with him and, kicked him out, like when we took all this stuff off the walls and all of his shit and put it into boxes, how empty it seemed in here. Because he had just, like, it was insidious. Like, he just took over the entire fucking house visually, everything. He left with almost everything. And then accused me of stealing, which is fucking hilarious. But, and I got fucking pictures and records. I have police reports to prove things. It really did get that bad.
To that, but yeah,
it got that bad. So, he kept, like, just blowing through all of his money to the point where I was giving him money for beer and cigarettes by the end of the week. And I didn't make that much, with the last job, like I made enough, to where, with his combined income, we were able to live. But like, I didn't have just, disposable income to be giving him for his vices, which I shouldn't have been doing in the first place. But the only reason I did is because if I didn't, he would like, I don't know how to put this other than like, he would just threaten me with other things. Like, oh, well, I guess I'm just not going to the grocery store this week. Oh, well, I guess we're not doing this or I'm not getting that. Like he would turn it on me and then like, well, if you're not going to do this for me, I'm not going to do this for you. And it just, that's when I finally was like, okay, like I'm done with this. I'm setting a boundary because I'd expressed, because I kept this from everybody, even you, Lauren, and I tell you literally everything until finally I just couldn't take it anymore. And I'm like, he's a fucking asshole and he treats me like shit, and I just had to, and I felt like if I verbalized it, it became more real, but I had to do that because I was in a situation that was quickly growing, bad, it was affecting my mental health. Like he would always manipulate me, like turn everything on me, like it's always my fault and I did this and blah blah blah. Never took responsibility, maybe a little bit, but only for the things that I could disprove or prove with facts. Like it was just spiraling out of control. The drinking got worse. He was bringing liquor into the house, which is to me the last straw and the ultimate betrayal because I had a liquor problem. And I specifically asked him out of respect for me not to bring liquor in the house. When we packed all the shit up. We found hundreds of empty little Jaeger bottles everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere.
And
like
Fireball.
stuff. Yeah. And Fireball. Like stuff between the couch, under the bed, hidden in, the closet, like fucking everywhere. And it's just like, I was just, and he has a legitimate problem. That's alcoholism. It, runs in our family, unfortunately. Like,
yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, like, didn't our dad say, like, this is what our grandpa used to do? Our grandpa on our dad's side was an alcoholic, and that's how he basically passed away from that. And, he used to hide liquor all over the house and stuff like that, too. So for my dad to see that and see history repeat itself, it really made him upset.
Yeah. And like, I just, of course, when he was living in North Carolina, I didn't see this stuff, so and he just talked everything up to me about, oh, I'm going to do this. We're going to have such a great life, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, of course, like I gave him the benefit of the doubt, but like, and just for the record, everything I'm saying is not biased. Like, this is literally what happened. Like, this is not coming from me, like just trying to bash my ex or whatever. This is all facts, I have pictures to prove this shit. Like, I have actual, like, visual proof of all of this. So it's like the beginning of August. And this is what kind of spiraled the breakup was. And this is relating to the boundary thing, was we were going to watch Picasso, because now she's with my parents. We're going to watch Picasso for a week while my parents went on a vacation down to Florida. And
Picasso is our family cat, by the way.
Yeah. So
just
she was,
everyone knows.
Yeah. So she was my grandfather's until he died. And then my parents ended up keeping her. So, excuse me. My mom had asked, she was like, hey, like, do you mind if, like, when we come, like, we just have dinner there, because we don't want to put anything in the trash, before we leave, since they get bears where they are. They live in like a heavily wooded area. So they get bears that come around.
Bears, raccoons, foxes, they all wakes of life,
Yeah. So she was like, yeah, because we don't want to attract bears while we're gone. And I was like, okay, sure, that's reasonable. Like, yeah, that's fine. So I go to
it's nice to have dinner with your parents before they go on a trip and, catch up and like make sure they're all good to go, and you say bye to them, and like that's it. Like, then they're gone for a week,
Right. And like, here's the thing too, like it wasn't just like the drinking that was really bothering me. It was like I felt isolated. Like, he would isolate me in a way where I felt like I couldn't go see anyone because I was afraid like he'd be upset, even though he would say, oh yeah, you could go to your parents. But then when I come back, it'd always be like, oh yeah, I'm just sitting here by myself. Like, he would just, I don't know. He's fucked up. So
he's a fucking narcissist is what he is.
Yeah. So, I go to tell him like, hey, my parents are going to have dinner with us because, and I explained exactly what my mom said to us or said to me. And he was like, he had already been drinking since 9 a.m. at that point. So he was like, basically belligerent. He didn't like when, our parents showed up unannounced, because he didn't want them to see him like that, because then he would look like an asshole. But here's the thing. If you're doing something where you're afraid of other people seeing it, you probably shouldn't be doing that. Just putting that out there. So he freaks out, and to the point where he's like, well, fuck it, I don't want to be around when they come here. I'm just going to go get a hotel. And I thought he was joking. And I'm like, you're not going to get a hotel. And then he fucking left and got a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, that's it. I'm setting my boundary right now. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm fucking done with this.
Quick question. When did he invite those coworkers of his over? Was this the day after this or the day before?
The day before.
Yeah, so that kind of is what I thought. That's what kind of started it, though, was when you said, no, I don't want them over, and he just did it anyways.
Oh, yeah, that was, I mean, it bothered me, but it, didn't break me like this did, you know? But it pissed me off because like he wanted to invite his coworkers over, and like I understand having friends and stuff like that, but it's like I wasn't ready, I wasn't showered, I wasn't, you know, like I wasn't ready to hang out with anyone, and it was very last minute, and I was like, well, could you like go to one of their places or somewhere? Like I really just don't want them here. Like I don't care if you go hang out with people. And then it turned into this thing about you never let me go see anyone, even though he's the one that literally isolated me. It was ridiculous. So
he had no one in Connecticut that he knew except for Megan and my family. No one. And yet he's the one talking about, well, you need to go out more and see people. My whole life is here. I could go see anyone I want anytime, you know?
Right.
You know, he was the one isolating you because he was so alone and, you know, wanted you on his level. That's what those people do. You know?
Yeah. And like talking about, well, at least I'm trying to like make friends and blah, blah, blah. But like, these are your coworkers. They're not like, you know, I don't know. It was so fucking ridiculous. So he goes to get a hotel, comes back the next day. While he was gone, I was so fucking mad. I went in there. Our record collection, everything was all in one place. I took my shit out because I didn't know if he was going to come back and be so pissed that he was just going to fucking leave and he was going to take my shit. I just went in there, and when he found that out, he lost it. Mm-hmm. Like he was like I took his personal shit, but I'm like, no, I just took my stuff. That's mine. You have literally everything. I took under 100 tapes and maybe 50 vinyls, 30 of which were mine before he moved up here. Mm-hmm. And that's what set him off. And he threatened me, and he goes, I'm going to use my next paychecks to replace everything you took out, and we are not going to the grocery store. You can figure it out with food. And that's a threat, you know? Like, yeah, that's literally
what basic fucking need. The thing about Trent, too, is he never ate, you know?
No,
he
didn't
eat. Of a fucking plastic straw and never ate anything. We eat, you know?
The reason he didn't eat is because he wanted to just get more drunk. And it's just like,
yeah.
You know, he admitted that to me, and I was just like, that's fucking insane. And I'm not just he literally said that to me, hand to God. So I was like, you know what? I'm done. And I remember a little voice in the back of my mind said, you have to put on your big girl pants and you have to do this. Mm-hmm. And I did. And I said, and he's like, well, when that usually happens, you start separating shit. That means it's the beginning of the end. And I'm like, yeah, no, it's fucking over. Like we're done. He's like, oh yeah, really? And he got fucking pissed and just left for a couple days.
Yeah, went back to the same motel he was just at.
Yeah, and
my parents are in Florida at this point, so you know, no help.
Yeah, I have like no one really around
I'm
here.
I'm in Utah, so I really can't do anything. You know, I was just there like 2 months ago. It's like I couldn't afford to fly out again, you know?
I didn't know if he was going to come back and just beat the shit out of me. I mean, he never put a hand on me. I'm going to make that perfectly clear. Mm-hmm. But like, I didn't know what was going to happen. And he came back a couple days later, and I told him like, look, like I will help you find a new place to live. Because originally he's like, well, I can't afford to go back to North Carolina, so I'm just going to look for something here. And I'm like, okay, I'll help you find a place to live. And I'll help you move and everything. Like, I'm not going to just throw you out and put you on the street, even though I should have for the way he fucking treated me.
Yeah, I was going to say, you didn't have to do that, and you did anyways.
Yeah, there's so much more that I'm withholding that I just don't even, I don't even know if I can talk about it, honestly. So,
and you don't need to, you know, if you really want to know, you know.
You can message me. You can
email me. Message Megan or too fucking bad. Like, sorry.
Yeah, like you can email me at the Gemini archives at gmail.com. So, you know, for like a week after that, it was just tense. Like we weren't talking to each other, sleeping in separate rooms. Like, you know, it was the worst week of my life just trying to find a place for him. And like we are coming up short, and like he couldn't afford anything, and you know he had lost his job during all of this because he like missed work when he was at the hotel.
To be fair, he wanted you to do all the work while he just sat and sulked the whole time.
Yeah, because when I finally was like, well, let me sit down with you and help you, I found like 3 places in an hour. I was like, okay, like either you're actually mentally retarded or you're like, you know, like I don't know. I couldn't, I couldn't deal with this anymore. I was stressed to the point where my hair was starting to fall out, and and that's no joke, like clumps of my hair coming out in the shower, and like, I don't know. It escalated and escalated. And then there was one night where I was just laying there, just trying to go to sleep, just hoping the nightmare would end. And he comes in, he's drunk, doesn't have money for rent, but has always had money for beer and fucking cigarettes. Yeah. He comes in and he was just like talking about like, fuck it, like I don't have anywhere to go. You've ruined my life. You've taken everything away from me, which is so defeatist, because if he had just tried a little bit, it would have been fine. If he had just been a little bit responsible, didn't blow all his money, he could have easily moved out within 2 days. Yep. It's his own fucking fault that he ended up in that situation. And he was like, so like spiraling, just talking about he was going to kill himself, which I know this is like a sensitive topic for some people. So your warning starts here.
Yeah. I don't know how long this is going to go on for, but
yeah, I don't know, but I'm not going to get too much into it because it's still kind of like a thing with the police. Then I told him, I was like, and I started just crying because I'm like, don't talk like that. Like, you have so much more to live for than that. Things I didn't even have to say, but things that I said because, one, I don't want anyone to take their own lives. Two, like, I just wanted him to calm down so we could just end this thing peacefully. And then he just left and whatever. And I tried to go to sleep. And then as I was like dozing off, I got a text from him and it said, don't open the garage. And I have the screenshot of it still. And I was like, why? And then I never got a response. So I get up because I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? And I'm met with like a suicide note with like a knife and like cords and stuff next to it. And immediately I'm like, oh my God. Because I saw the van was gone. I was like, oh my God, he's in the fucking garage. So I try to open the garage. All the doors are locked. I can't get in. I hear the car running in there. It's 5 a.m. I got to call the police and they have to break down the fucking garage like it's an episode of Cops. Pull him out, bring him to the behavioral unit at the hospital. He was on suicide watch for 72 hours, ended up being in there for a week because he was not cooperative.
And now at this point, my parents are back home. So my dad flew over there like his ass was on fire.
Oh yeah, my dad. I called him at 5 a.m. because my dad's usually up like getting ready for work. He leaves around like 6. So he was up and he immediately freaks right out. And it's just like, holy shit. And while he was in the hospital, I had to talk to a social worker, that's there and like all these people. And finally, he just called me like while he was there and he was like, I just want to go home. Because initially he didn't want to go home because he could go to his brother, but he didn't want to bother him and all this stuff.
Yeah,
so
his brother's his only family he could go back to.
So now he's like, well, I don't have a choice now. So I told him, my parents paid for a U-Haul back, which is more than generous of them. And we were told by the police that we had to pack everything up because there's going to be a police escort there, but they don't have all day to just sit there while we get everything into boxes and stuff. So he said, just pack everything up. I'll be here when, you load everything in. Okay. So that's what we did. And that's when we found all the empties and damage done. He punched holes in the walls. There's smoke damage because he smoked inside, even though I told him not to. And, like I said, I got pictures of everything. So, so when he was released, I went to my parents' house. I told him I have nothing more left to say to you. I'm not talking to you anymore. Because what can I say at that point? You've not only traumatized me, you've traumatized my family.
I know. And imagine, I'm going to interject for just a second. It's 3 a.m. here and I did not wake up until 7 o'clock my time. So it was 9 a.m. in Connecticut by the time I finally saw what happened. I had like 2 missed calls and a big text from Megan explaining what happened and to call her as soon as I'm awake. And I freaked right out. I like immediately called her and I'm like, what fucking happened? You know, I'm like, I'm sorry, I was asleep, but like, what happened? And she explained everything to me. And it's like, you know, I felt kind of helpless because I'm here, you know, I can't do anything, you know, physically.
I mean, it's also not your battle to fight, for lack of a better way to put it. It's, you know, it was my relationship. That's how I'm gonna deal with it. And
but sometimes some battles are just too big to fight alone. You know what I mean? And you need help.
This definitely was. So like, I've been having night terrors ever since because this all happened, you know, at night. I'm afraid like he's gonna come back, like break the door down and fucking kill me.
Literally had to get a security camera and change the locks on the door and like, you know, take like all these extra precautions because you never know what people are capable of these days. Like even the dumb ones, you know.
No, so. I know, and like I mean, I had all kinds of people like, you know, messaging me after we broke up and everything. Because once he was on the road back to North Carolina, I had made like a public post about it because we have a lot of mutual friends, a lot. Mm-hmm. And everyone knew that we were together and like always associated us as like an item, blah, blah, blah. I can't even look at those fucking pictures anymore and I had to delete them all just because it made me feel so sick. How someone who claimed to love me so much would like subject me to all of this. And, you know, and that was me again with the boundary thing, getting back to that was me setting my boundary saying, I'm not going to let him treat me like this anymore. I'm done. I'm not going to let him walk all over me and manipulate me into doing stuff for him and all this other shit. And he tried his damnedest to, you know, make me quote unquote pay for it. And honestly, the way I pay for it now is not being able to sleep that well and feeling like I can't trust anyone. And, you know, all these fucking psychological things that happen with a destructive relationship like this. And because it was destructive, like he let his addictions get the best of him. He just couldn't fucking, and as someone who has had to do that before, I know it's something that he could have done and he chooses not to do. He chooses to do the same thing, associate with the same people, do the same shit as he did 25 years ago. And it's like, you really think that's healthy? Because it's not, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I mentally became unhinged after this relationship. Like, you know, at first I was just relieved more than anything. So I seemed like happy and okay. And I'm like, I'm so much better now that I'm out of that situation. But I mentally just for like, I don't know, last few months, I've just not been right. And, you know, I've had to go see a therapist and get help and ask people for help because I had to quit my job because I mentally just couldn't handle it anymore. And the workload was only getting more intense and I'm getting yelled at because I had to take a leave of absence when all this was happening. And, you know,
which she said was totally fine. But then we're like, well, actually, it's not fine. It's like, so what is it? You know?
Yeah, no. And then they told me, oh, it was never actually approved. So you're in jeopardy of being fired. And I was like, oh, that's cute. Well, I quit then because that's ridiculous. So, you know, and it was hard for me to like focus. I was getting, you know, like reprimanded at work for, you know, not doing this, that, and the other thing. And it's just like, it got to a point where I'm like, I can't even focus on this job right now. Like I needed more time. So I just had to bite the bullet, apply for unemployment and just like, you know, worry about myself. Because that's the other thing too, going back to boundaries is I'm not going to keep working in this dumbass fucking slave job just to, you know, because, oh, well, you've been working here for so long. Like, why are you going to leave now? Blah, blah, blah. Like, no, like, I'm going to do something for myself. Like, I'm not going to keep this job just to appease others. Like, I'm sorry, you know? So it's this chain reaction. This is all happening within the last few months. That's kind of the reason why I wanted to bring back the podcast too, is because I've been going through a lot psychologically. And I was like, when Lauren got out of her relationship with her ex, that was a piece of shit, which we have another episode on too.
Yeah, I talk about that in a past episode.
That's how we ended up starting the podcast in the first place. It just as a way to
right after we broke up.
Yeah, to like vent and just have something to fall on and look forward to and keep us busy and productive. And honestly, even just talking about it now, like I was nervous because I'm like, I don't want to say too much, but I'm like, at this point, whatever. Like, I don't care. Like, and like I said, I'm just stating facts. These are all things that happen. I'm not trying to bash or anything like that. There might have been a few things I said that came off that way, but if anything, honestly, I just hope he gets fucking help. Like,
yeah,
I hope
he's mentally unwell. He has an addiction problem. He also has mental issues of his own that are bigger than what Megan could have handled, and and that happens. But you have to know your limits with people. If people are willing to help him, then good for him. But it's just like, on top of being abusive, when you act like that, it's just like, why should she help you?
Well,
you don't have to.
And I hope he finds the strength in himself to finally face his shit and get the help that he needs. When he had, moments of being sober and like, clear-minded, like he actually did think like this, but it was fleeting. It wasn't for very long.
But that's why it's so conflicting and hard to leave, because you see like those good moments and you think, well, I'm holding out hope that we have more of this, but it just doesn't happen.
Well, exactly.
It will never happen the way you want it to happen.
And on top of, just give me another chance. Like, how many more fucking chances can I give you in 2-3 years?
Exactly.
Like, I can only take so much. So that's why I had to set my boundary and be like, I have to worry about myself because of this. Because he drank so much, I started eating more so I wouldn't drink. So I put on weight, and I'm not happy about it. And like, I've been abusing my body. I've been isolated. I've been antisocial. I've been like all these things that I normally am not. And even Allie pointed it out, like I said in the last episode, I don't know, when we were, doing all the stuff for the wedding, she's like, I could tell like you were just not yourself.
Mm-hmm. And I could tell the most because we talked every day and I knew you weren't like yourself because he would come home and we'd be on the phone and you'd be like, I have to go right now immediately. And you would just hang up. And because he was to the point where he was so fucking jealous of anyone who talked to Megan, that he even got mad when her and I would talk.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm her sister. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Like, we're plotting this whole thing to take your ass down. You did it to yourself, bud. Like, like put yourself in this position.
He accused me of like cheating constantly and called people, other guys, my other boyfriends, and like constantly. And like the month before, he's like, you've been on your phone ever since the wedding, you've been on your phone way more than usual. Are you sure you're not fucking cheating on me? And like making me like look like I'm a terrible person. And I'm like, you can look through my phone and see exactly who I'm talking. And it was just you because I missed you, like you, Lauren.
It was literally just me that she was talking to.
I didn't talk to anyone else. He had isolated from anyone else. Like, I didn't have anyone else to talk to at that time, Mm-hmm. Like, just Lauren, because I figured, well, it's my sister. You shouldn't get pissed. But he gets pissed anyway. So it was like, I was damned if I do, damned if I don't. And that's when I knew, I'm like, I have to leave because this is not going to get any better. Like, after attempting multiple times to like, make sure he's not drinking as much, to do this, to, get a better job, make more money, do this so we can have a future for ourselves, start a savings account, blah, blah. All these things that he should have done like 20 years ago. Like, and I'm not perfect either, but at least I'm responsible. And like, it just got to the point where it's like, I saw it just going nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. And I had to set my boundary and be like, I need to leave this, like I'm not going to stay in this relationship just because my records are mixed in with his. It's fucking ridiculous,
Right.
Fuck the records. I don't even care. Well, most of that stuff, honestly, it was just stuff that was like given to me as like gifts and like, that was Chris's and stuff. And he felt like he was entitled to all of it, And I was just like, well, you don't even listen to it, was his rationale. Well, you don't even listen to it. And I'm like, that's not true. I would listen to it. One, you wouldn't be home because I couldn't go in there when he was there because he'd be drinking and I didn't want to be around him when he was like that. So that was not true. And second of all, even if I didn't listen to it, it's still fucking mine. So it's not yours. Period.
Right.
You know, we weren't married. We didn't have a prenup. You know, it's not like I get half of your shit. No, that was my stuff and I took it back. And I'm so glad I fucking did. You know, and
yeah, and I don't want to give myself credit, but I think I was the one who told you, you need to get your stuff out of there. If you have anything in there of value, get it out of there. So
I did. Yeah, and I appreciate that too, because like some of it was like our grandfather's cassettes and stuff like that. I took everything that was his. I'm like, that was not his to begin with. You know, you were not entitled to keep that stuff. So that's what happened.
I could tell, like, even when I was there for the wedding and stuff like that, for my wedding, I should say, when I would be at your place, he was just like, he did not want me there. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you jive ass motherfucker. Like, this is my childhood home, not yours. I am so entitled to be here. It's not even funny. So if you have a problem with it, you could fuck off. Like, literally fuck off.
It made me so angry because he quit his job the day before you guys came back. Like that week he was supposed to be working and out of the house, so it was just going to be us there or whatever. It got to a point where I didn't even care if he was out. I was just like, good, whatever. Like, it's just less stress for me, the less I have to deal with you drunk. Like, that's what it was getting to. And it's like, that's not how you think about someone you supposedly love. I'm sorry. Like, he always complained about, you know, me being around him too much and I was too affectionate and, oh, you want to be kissed a lot, blah, 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 which it was no more than like anyone in a regular relationship. Let
me tell you something right now. If you're with someone who genuinely hates how much you try to hug and kiss them, get out of that relationship. They literally hate you and you need to leave them. Period. Yeah. Because my ex was the same fucking way. He's like, oh, you hold my hand too much. Like, stop kissing me all the time. Like, I don't like, and I saw him 4 times in our entire relationship for a week each. And it's like, wouldn't you want that if you really missed your significant other? He did not want that at all. Yeah. And I'm just like, you know, why am I with you? You know, thank God that's over because.
Oh, I know. Like, yeah, no, he was a piece of shit. Like, and Trent, like, you know, like when he first came up here to see me, like for those couple of days, like it was not like that. It was like normal. Like he was like a normal amount of like affectionate with me. And like, as soon as he moved in though, it was like, I felt like awkward and weird. Like every time I was trying to be like, you know, affectionate with him. And it's like, that's not a way to live, you know, like
because he knows he can get it whenever he wants. So it's not his first priority. Which is stupid because if you really love someone, you would crave that shit all the time.
Well, right. And it's like, that's why I knew. I'm just like, yeah, no, this is not healthy. And this is not a good environment for me to be in. So I broke it off. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I remember when I told you I finally did it, the sigh of relief that came out of your mouth.
Oh my God. I was like, thank you, God. He's finally going to be out of our lives, you know, like, because I hated him and I didn't hide it. He had no intention to ever know me as a person. Loves the shit out of my husband and probably would still be friends with him if it weren't for me. But like, I think he just hated women because he always treated women like shit. But my dad, my husband, my brother-in-law, my father-in-law, he loved all of them, but no one else, you know, not even my mother-in-law, who is literally the most genuine and pure person on this planet. I love her to death and wanted nothing to do with her. And I'm just like, okay, you asshole, like, get it the fuck together, you know?
Yeah,
and
I know.
Honest to God, I had no interest in getting to know him either because I don't care about people who are abusive and, you know, have a problem and that they don't want to fix. It's one thing to have a problem and be aware of it and try to fix it, but he didn't want to fix himself. So I had no interest in getting to know this piece of shit whatsoever.
And honestly, you know? I will say, though, there are times where he actually did try, but it never lasted more than a week.
Yeah.
Like, I will give him that. At least he did try a little bit, but it wasn't enough, you know? Like,
but it was on his terms when he was ready, and it didn't matter when you wanted it. It was all about him all the time. That was the problem.
And that's the thing, too, with, like, addiction. Like, it kind of has to be on your terms, like, when you're ready. But he wasn't. He was doing it for me. Because I told him like it was bothering me and it was fucking me up. And
yeah, and he knew he'd be out of a house and home if he fucking kept doing what he was doing. That's his real concern. That, and he wouldn't be able to afford any more fucking cassettes and vinyls and CDs or whatever the fuck he wants to get with his money, you know?
yeah, most of which I ended up fucking buying. So
yeah, exactly.
He accused me of taking over 200 tapes. And I said, in what world? I didn't even know like 75% of the fucking tapes he had. I didn't even know those bands. Like,
yeah.
Why would I keep
I don't
them?
think you had 200 cassettes either.
No. Like, we had like combined about 600 and I took under 100.
Yeah.
When, he moved out. Because I have my cassettes are sitting in 2 boxes and they each hold 50 tapes. So I have a box and another box that's almost full. So it's a little under 100.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You know, like, you don't even physically own 200 cassettes. You have less than half of that.
Yeah.
And he's accusing you of that. It's ridiculous.
Accused me of stealing. And he said that I was, starting shit online saying that that he beat me and stuff. I never fucking said that. I never said a word of that. I'll say it right now. He never put a hand on me. And hell, I'll say it again. He never put a hand on me. And anyone that believes that he fucking did is delusional. So I don't know. It was a mess, and it was a mess. I'm done talking about it now. Thank you for letting me get that out. But that is what I dealt with. And I'm so glad it's over. And I've been so happy to just move on with my life, even though I'm still dealing with some emotional baggage and all this other shit.
You know what? That can be worked through. So that's okay. That as long as you yourself are not in any kind of danger, then I would take that as a victory, honest to God.
Yeah. So. No, exactly. Because I know he tried to hurt himself. And I can't even believe it escalated to that point. But I didn't know if I was going to be next,
Well, that it was right for you to call the cops, and because not only did he re-traumatize you when you first started talking by just not being anywhere near his phone and disappearing for 2 days and you thinking he's dead, like what happened with Chris, when you heard him literally die on the phone, but he re-traumatized you by trying to kill himself and having you go through another loss of a boyfriend yet again. He did it on purpose. And it was stupid in every other way, but that was planned.
Yeah, and that was intentional because when they took him to the behavioral unit, he had called me like a couple hours later and he was like, why did you do that? Now I'm going to be stuck here. I have a job interview today. And I was like, hey, asshole, how are you getting to a job interview if you were going to be fucking dead?
Mm-hmm.
Hello. So that told me right there, he gave himself away. It was total. And the police concluded that it was a means of manipulation, based on the evidence and what I told them and what he said and everything else. So that was what was concluded, is that he was doing it as a means to, for me to keep him there. So he didn't have to leave. And man, I have been hurt. I have been called all kinds of things. I have been physically abused before. I've dealt with all this shit. Nothing fucked me up more than that.
Yeah. You lived with him for 2 years.
Yeah, that fucked me up bad, and I'm still to the point where I'm like, how the hell am I ever going to start dating again? I'm not even close to that yet, but how do you fucking trust someone after that happens?
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things where I'm glad it's over. I'm glad I set my boundary. It is now approaching the end of the year. And from the beginning of this year, because of the boundaries we have set, things have drastically improved for the better.
Yep, it's true. So take this as a message of advice. Set those boundaries and don't be afraid of the consequences, because what you're afraid of is how people are going to react to you. And that's something I had to figure out. It's I was so worried about people judging me for doing the things that I did because I set a boundary for myself. I don't give a fuck anymore. If someone's going to judge you for what you do with your own ass life, that has nothing to do with them, get rid of that person. And also, can I also add, on top of the addiction thing. Joking about addiction is not funny. Putting yourself down and acting like a fucking victim because you have a problem is not funny or cute or quirky or any way going to get you sympathy from people. Acting, that like immaturely about something so serious is literally the biggest turnoff ever. And you're not going to get any help because of it. So if you have a problem, you know someone with a drug problem, drinking problem, some kind of problem, and they're not taking it seriously, you have to get rid of that person from their life, because when they realize they have no one left, that's when they're going to figure out that they need help.
Right. And you know, like that's kind of what I was afraid of too. Like, back to what you said about like people judging, but like, I don't care. Well, first of all, I do not care what people think. Like, it's my life. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. I've always lived
and also
that way.
Everything Megan has said is the truth, and I will back that up. My husband would back that up, and our family would back that up. That is all true. There's not a single lie in that story. And I will fight anyone who says otherwise, verbally, not physically. I don't have the energy. So,
but like I said, this is not me trying to, like, this is not me trying to bash him. He was a fucking terrible person. Because honestly, like, I wouldn't have been with him if he was a terrible person, like.
He just did terrible shit to himself and others.
Like, he's not a bad person, like, he just has this addiction and he has these flaws about him that he just actively chooses not to deal with. And that's affected our relationship. That's the cut and dry of it, And I was afraid, like, we were going to break up and, like, I was going to get judgment from people, which I still am. So whatever. People are going to think what they want anyway. Like, I was there. I fucking lived it. You didn't, you fucking asshole. Like, because I was afraid, because we know so many mutual people, like, it was just like people are going to stop talking to me and blah, blah, blah. It was quite the opposite. So I still have all my friends, and all the people I know I can trust. And like,
you're even never going to know the outcome of something until you actually do it. So when you preemptively are like, well, if I set my boundaries, like, I'm going to lose everyone, blah, blah, blah. You don't know that until you do it.
Right.
And if it happens, then it happens. But at least you set your boundary. And that's when people take you seriously, is when you set boundaries for yourself. And you say, you don't get to talk to me like this anymore. You don't get to treat me like this either. You don't get to do this and that to me, period. Just to me. If you want to do it to other people, fine, but you're not doing it to me.
Right. And like I had said earlier, like, out of all of this, I just hope that he finally finds the strength to just like work through his shit ultimately. Like, if I find out, because I refuse to talk to him, if I find out he got sober and stays sober, that would be great. I could karmically, in like a cosmic sense, be at ease, Like, it's just one of those things where, for my own sanity and my own physical health, I had to get away. And obviously I didn't go into this with the intent on breaking up with him. I never thought I was going to do that until I realized that this is just how he is and he's not going to change, because some people, if they genuinely care about you, will change for the better and make the effort, but he did not. He did the bare minimum and expected to be praised like a king. So I'm coming out of this now with way more knowledge than I ever had in my life. And it's because I set the fucking boundary. And you know what? That's the best life advice I could ever give anyone, is set your fucking boundaries. Like, do not let people walk all over you. Like, if you feel like a situation is not good, leave it. If you feel like a person is like toxic and gross, get rid of them. Like, just fucking do it.
And
because
don't try to convince yourself otherwise that you need a bad person in your life. You don't. You don't need to be disrespected. You don't need to be manipulated. You don't need to be gaslit. You don't need any of that in your life. And if you know someone's doing that to you and they actively deny it, get fucking rid of them. And I know it's harder for family, but it's easier for friends than family to get rid of, because family, it's like they're there forever. But if you could physically get away from someone in your family who does that, do it. And I'm serious. Like, you will see the quality of your life improve tenfold,
Yeah. No, it's true. So that's all. That's the last I'm ever going to say about this situation. I'm not going to bring it up again.
We're leaving it here to die, basically.
Yeah.
This is like the eulogy for that relationship. We buried it. It's in the ground, and now we're leaving it, and we're not coming back.
Literally, like I'm done. Like kind of like how you did when we talked about your ex. I'm leaving it here. Like,
I'm never talking about him again, like on a podcast or whatever. I just did a little bit today for reference, and maybe I'll reference it from time to time, but not even in that long sense of like, here's what happened and why it fucked me up. I'm married now. Like, I give a shit about that piece of crap, you know? Like,
right. You know, and I needed to say my piece because there was a lot of things that he was saying that were untrue. And I'm speaking from a place, like I said, this is facts. I'm stating facts. I'm not, you know, on here to bash him. And he was if he was so fucking terrible, I wouldn't have wanted to date him in the first place, you know, like.
Yeah, or had to move in. So.
Well, exactly. You know, if I thought he was that bad, I would have been like, all right, I would have broke up with him then and there and been like, yep, no, we're done. Like, no, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. And it seemed like for a while, he actually did want to like get better and like, you know, build a life with me and all this stuff. But it very quickly spiraled out of control. So now I'm here. I'm single. So what's up, guys? I'm just kidding. Please do not message me. I swear to God, I keep getting memes in my inbox. Stop sending me memes, please. Like, I can't fucking take it. I think this is how people flirt now. They just send memes to people. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
Stop it. Like, I just want peace in my life.
Literally, please. Like,
I'm just kidding. I don't mind the memes, but you know, it's like,
listen, Meg, like I'm married and like I still get memes from dudes in my inbox and I'm like, I don't care, you know? I don't know you. Stop sending me memes.
Literally. So yeah, I'm gonna need some time, you know, and I'd rather be alone and happy than with someone miserable, honestly. Like a lot of people stay in relationships like that for the sake of just not being alone. I do not care. I like being alone, honestly. Like I always have, you know, like I've always been just a very independent person. So does not bother me, you know, love it. Love that I could just wake up and it's just me. And I'm like, cool. I don't have to tiptoe around anyone or fucking, you know, clean up after anyone. Like it's just me. So I feel better.
I'm so glad. We needed this.
I know. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're not going to have another 2-hour episode. I'm pretty sure this episode's going to be just as long.
Yeah, sorry. The next episode will definitely not be this long because
the next episode
we're going to do like an actual topic about something, you know, and you know, make it a lot shorter than this.
Yeah. So sorry in advance, but there was no short way about talking about this. So there you go. So I'm good. Everything's great. We need a song from Lauren. What is your song?
My song for this week, because I'm so pissed about the one that, you know, YouTube kept copyright striking from Uncle Acid. Like,
oh yeah, I was so angry.
I'm going local. So I'm putting in a song from a band from Salt Lake City called Alghoul, who my husband played with back in September. They did a show and they were fucking incredible. It's like black thrash, you know, and they are just, I love that bit. And they're like the nicest dudes too. You know, everyone from this area is really nice to you in person, but the second you drive, everyone's an asshole. But like, I know, nicest band, like great music. They only have an EP out at the moment with like 3 songs. So I'm going to put one of those in. And yeah, I mean, they covered Deadly Sinners live. And it was like just before, just after 3 Inches of Blood, like announced they were coming back. And I was like, so stoked. I took a video of that, I think, of them covering that song.
That's like one of the 3 songs from 3 Inches of Blood that I like.
I think that's one of the 3 songs anyone knows from 3 Inches of Blood, but it's fine. We love them. Like, whatever.
We love them.
But, when I saw them live, I fell in love with that band. I'm like, they're so good. I have not liked a band locally like that in a long time because I hate to say it. Whenever my husband plays shows, they always put him with like these stupid power metal bands and I can't stand them, you know? And I'm just like, can you put other black metal on for once, please? Like I could count on my hands like how many times they play with other black metal bands. And some of them don't even exist. Like the first time I saw his band, it was a band named Heretic Temple at the time, who opened for them, not a band anymore. So fucking pissed about it. I'm like, come on. We need more black metal, you know?
Dude, and I will say, like, I like power metal, but like, yeah, to put it on with like black metal, death, it's just
death
weird.
metal. It's like, come on. Like, who is putting on these shows? Anyway.
It's literally like the equivalent of like when you go to like Taco Bell and you just mix all the fountain drinks into one cup and you're just like, what is this?
That literally, my husband does that all the time. He loves mixing like 5 or 6 drinks at once, and he's like, try it. I'm like, I would rather die than try whatever concoction you just made. But thank you.
The only time I ever did that was, I think you called it a lemon up. It was lemonade and 7-Up.
Oh,
and
from In-N-Out? Yeah.
It was so good. And I didn't do it at a fountain. I just bought those two things and mixed them together.
Yeah, but that's well known, like, you know, Arnold Palmer's too, where it's like lemonade and
tea,
like green tea, you know. So it's like it's not out of the ordinary for 2, you know, drinks to be mixed, but like 6, give me a break, you know. Anyway, putting in fucking Alghoul because they rule. That's it.
Okay.
I didn't mean to rhyme. I'm sorry.
Lauren, please.
I'm sorry. And if YouTube has a problem with Alghoul, I literally will body slam the fucking whoever runs YouTube with my whole body. Just clobber them.
Your whole body?
My entire body. Every toe and finger is going on that person.
Oh shit. Thank you. I needed that laugh after talking about my last relationship.
You're welcome.
But thank you for letting me get that off my chest. And if you made it this far into the episode, and by far I mean to the end, thank you. We appreciate that. Like,
thank you so much for listening.
You know, like we've all gone through like horrible things, and you know, I've had to set boundaries and get ourselves out, and you know, things like that. Like, it's life, you know, like some people choose to be complacent. Others, like you and me, try to be more proactive and get out of it. But like, I feel like it's something we all go through at least once in our life, maybe not to the degree that you and I have, but like, it's something that, you know, we all fucking do and like deal with. So I'm hoping like you can relate to this and like, you know, kind of hear us out on the boundary thing, because honestly it works. Like 10 times out of 10 when you go, I need to get out of this and I'm setting my boundary, it will work in your favor. Like,
yeah, it's true. And like, and it doesn't have to be anything big like a toxic relationship or anything like that. It can be something as small as like, I don't know, your neighbor keeps like leaving shit on your lawn. You know, set that boundary with your neighbor. Be like, you're not going to leave your shit on my lawn anymore, you know?
Right.
So homework, I'm giving you homework. Try and do a small thing for yourself, a small boundary, and go from there, you know? Yeah. Because once you start making boundaries for yourself, even at something as small as like telling someone you can't do this anymore, you wouldn't even believe the potential of like how much better like the quality of your life is because you have control over it.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, you don't have to be an asshole about it. Like setting a boundary does not mean you have to be mean and rude about it. Like you can just simply say, hey, I don't like this, or I would like to change this. Set your boundary, you know? Like, I mean, I had to be mean with Trent because he was yelling at me and accusing me of all this stuff. And you heard what happened. Like,
well, you have to feel out the situation too.
Yeah.
Like,
but like, if it's something small like that, like if, you know, your neighbor keeps like doing stuff that bothers you, just approach them calmly and be like, hey, like, I don't appreciate this. I don't like this. Can you please just like stop doing that? You know, set your boundaries. Don't let
they may
people
be oblivious. Yeah, exactly. They may be oblivious to the fact that they're doing anything at all. And I would think they'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize it was upsetting you that much. Yes, I will absolutely stop. But if they copy you an attitude, well, at least you set your boundary. And now they know that you have a problem with it.
Well, exactly. Like not speaking up and not saying anything is detrimental. Like you don't have to deal with things. Like
and no one understands more than Megan and I how hard it is to stand up for yourself. But you fucking do that shit. You stand up for if no one's going to stand up for you, you definitely should stand up for yourself. Because when you carry that kind of like, what do you call it? Like, you carry that air about you of just like, I know what I want and I'm not going to let anyone push me around anymore. People take you seriously, you know?
Right.
And the people who don't are so fucked up in the head, they shouldn't be in your life in the first place. So.
No, exactly. So thank you for coming to our TED Talk.
Thank you so much. We're going to listen to Alghoul now. And we'll be back.
I mean, honestly,
oh, sorry.
This was the episode that we needed to do. And now I promise things are going to be more fun from here, but we had to get this out. We just wanted to give you a little bit of insight about, you know, because we haven't recorded in what, like 2 years?
I know.
We just wanted to give you some insight about what we've been dealing with and how things have been.
2 episodes to do it, but
yeah,
now that it's all out in the air, it's like we're gonna get to the fun stuff now.
Yeah, so now we're getting to the fun stuff, and I'm excited about it. I know you are too, Lauren. And
yes, I have a whole list of ideas of stuff we could talk about.
Oh, it's happening. Like, and if there's anything that we did not mention that you would like us to talk about, please email us at thegeminiarchives@gmail.com.
Or you know what, just either email us or message us on Instagram or Facebook. We have
email us so we can get a fucking email for once.
Yeah,
like,
or do that just one time. If one person emails us, I'll consider it like an accomplishment, you know?
The first person to email us will get a Gemini Archives t-shirt that doesn't exist yet, but we will make one.
No, they'll get a sticker because we can make that. We'll give you a sticker and then eventually a t-shirt.
We'll make you a sticker. I'll give you a print of our artwork that I haven't changed since we started the podcast 5 years ago.
Let's do that, actually. we'll do that. No t-shirt because I can't stand people who sell t-shirts and like upmark the price like to $30 for a fucking shirt. It's like, come on, man.
Oh no, they would get it. They would get it for free.
Yeah, well, a sticker and a print would be more than enough.
Yeah. So email us and you'll get some Gemini Archives stuff. I'm not even kidding.
For you with their own hands.
I'm not kidding. If you do this, you will get stuff in the mail. Like, I'm dead ass serious. So,
yep.
Anyway, we're going to put on Alghoul. We're going to end it here. I'm going to go eat dinner because I'm starving.
Yeah.
Even though it's like 5:30 here and it's dark out. Fucking
I know
winter.
It's only 3:30 here, but it's gonna get dark in like 2 hours, and I have to go to the grocery store still. Say a prayer.
Everybody pray for Lauren.
Thanks. Okay.
But okay, I'm ending it here.
We'll be back with something fun next week. We don't know what it's gonna be, but it's gonna be fun because we deserve it. We all deserve this. Okay. So
literally, we're just happy to be back anyway. Like,
exactly,
just doing this and having a platform, even though honestly, we probably have like 3 people that actually listen to us, which we appreciate all 3 of you. But like,
we got to start somewhere. So
yeah, like we're not, like I said, we're not doing this for like recognition. If you genuinely enjoy listening to us, we appreciate you and we love you. So
yes, we do.
I'm gonna go eat. Lauren's gonna go. I don't know.
Go die for a little bit, and then I'll be back.
Lauren, please.
Sorry.
But all right, we will see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.